Welcome to this Thursday. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson, and you are watching Leadership Beyond Burnout. This is the show where we help everyday people, leaders, people in mental health, healthcare, and public service to be able to lead without burnout. Today's show, we are going to focus on being polished and powerful while building everyday resilience with grace. So let's get right into it. Okay. So if you're new here, thank you for tuning in with us today. If you've been a faithful listener, one of our fired up friends, thank you for joining us week after week here Thursday at 5 p.m. Uh, so Today is gonna be for anyone who's ever felt like they had to hold it all together while quietly falling apart. Now, of course, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we really want to key in and hone in on some of those factors that create mental health challenges or crises, and really to help you to be able to lead with resilience, presence, and power without burning out in the process. So, this isn't about surviving another quarter. So many people go in and they're living their work life quarter by quarter from incident to incident without really taking a breather and just kind of powering through all the time. It's about building the kind of strength that actually sustains people. So I'm calling this talk, like I said, polished and powerful, building everyday resilience with grace. So let's jump right in. So poise doesn't mean pretending. And we do this so often. Heck, I've been guilty of it myself. When somebody asks me how I'm doing, I'm fine. I'm blessed and highly favored, but that's not often the reality. You don't have to perform calm. You don't have to be performative with it. You can begin to build it. So when you're building something, we start with something small, doing one action that begins to build that calm. Remember that real poise isn't about perfection. Okay. It's very hard to find perfection anywhere in nature, in things that we create. And it's almost that the perfection is imperfections is what makes it perfection. So we're trying to build clarity, we're trying to build boundaries. It's about creating a form of self respect. As a leader, your team doesn't need you to be unshakable, unflappable, because that's false. That's not true. There's usually something that we are very concerned about that, if not done correctly, could have some really deleterious consequences. So you don't need to be unshakable. Your team needs you to be aware enough to notice when they're shaking, to be in tune with yourself so that you have some sense of reality to about what they're going through and what they're experiencing so that you can lead them and share that you're concerned too. You're worried as well. And that's so very helpful to know that you're approachable, that you're human, that you're in touch, that you're not oblivious to their experience. Not oblivious to their experience. Power isn't control either. We want to remember that power is capacity. Now, when we think about like these lights that are lighting me up, or the computer that you're watching me on, or the bandwidth of the internet, power isn't exerting an overarching control. It's the capacity to be able to perform. How you regulate your energy, how you respond to pressure. Because remember, pressure can break or pressure can create diamonds. Okay. How you check your tone. I know sometimes that's a challenge for me when I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling pressure. It comes out in two places: my face and my tone. Even though I may be trying to present this really calm demeanor, it can come out in my tone. I can get a little bit sassy at times, okay? And that is leadership presence, when you're able to regulate your energy, to respond to pressure well, and check your tone. That is leadership present. You can set your emotional temperature of your team by having your own regulation of your nervous system. If you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off or firing people left and right, and believe it or not, I actually had an executive director who would do that. Under pressure, that executive director would begin firing people because they couldn't handle the pressure themselves and would outwardly blame everyone else and just get rid of the staff and make it more difficult to actually work. So, and guess what? When you set the emotional temperature of your team, thermostats don't panic. They just reflect the temperature of what's going on. They reflect the atmosphere. So you become mirrors for one another. Your ability to regulate your composure, your emotional temperature, reflects in the team. For far too often, we think it's the opposite, that if the team is panicking, they don't know how to regulate themselves, but they're just mirroring you. So the more you are in control of yourself, the better that the team can regulate themselves. The third thing that I wanted to bring up during this time is that resilience can be cultural, not just personal. Okay. In this country, United States, we've really glorified resilient individuals. But what does that mean? In its truest form, resilience is not about how we individually handle pressure. It's about how the community reflects it, how it's built in community. We've gotten so individualized that we have a difficult time even expecting or seeking that community support. And if those communities have safe spaces, and if they are done in trust, it's more likely for someone to seek that resilience through community. As a matter of fact, I'm having some challenges right now that are really making my resilience quite difficult. But I've had the fortitude to reach out to those within my community that could offer me the support I've needed. And that's been incredibly invaluable and even sometimes surprising, because those that I thought may not be as supportive were the most supportive avenues that I could have found. And those that I thought who were there, who were designed to be a support system and to bolster my resilience, actually failed that support test. But that's okay, because I felt safe enough and I trusted those in my circle to be able to pull on that. And I make and I'm also there for those individuals in my circle as well. So we have a community of support, and that is incredibly important. So your team, it doesn't have to be everyone is supportive, because everyone doesn't get along. So we can quit pretending like we can all kumbaya in every place is a safe space, because it isn't. And sometimes that safe space is dependent upon what's going on in our reality, because I can absolutely tell you that there are certain times when I am more empathetic, more sympathetic, more responsive, and other times when I am just not. Um, often surprising myself at the response I have. But the more that I'm regulated, the better I have the ability to respond. So, leaders, remember that your language sets the tone. Your language sets the tone. And it's not just what you say verbally, it's what you're saying with your whole being, with your whole body. What does that represent? Because it's really contradictory when you say, I have an open door, come to me anytime. But then when someone shows up at the door, there's a scowl and there's a look, or there's an assistant who's like, why are you here? There there's no scheduled meeting for you. So everything needs to be in alignment to match. If you say you have an open door policy, the whole system around you and around the language that you use should support that tone. I want you to try asking your team, how's your energy this week? How are you feeling? That question opens more doors than, are you good? Because how do you respond to that? You good? So what's the inverse? No, I'm bad. No one wants to respond to that in a way. It's like you are creating a scenario where they have to lie to you rather than share the true reality of what's going on for them. I want to give you some quick tips to be able to, some practical team tools to use with your team. Start your meetings with a 2-minute emotional check in. So it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out soliloquy where one person saps up all the energy and then we don't want to do any type of emotional check in. So you need to set the tone for that and say how this emotional check in runs in. Maybe it's just a word, maybe it's an action, maybe it's little signs or stickies that we hold up. But you can do a quick check in around the room, and that'll give you some clue to how present your team is and their ability to be able to tackle the task for the week, the challenges. Do you need to divert resources to another team member because maybe the person who's primarily responsible for a particular result, their emotions or and their energy are very low, or they're just not up to the task. The other thing that you can have for a practical tool for your team is ensuring that you have 988, that's the crisis line, saved in your phone. You can also ensure that your team knows what the crisis line is. And I want to give you another number for crisis. This is actually a crisis text line. You can, it's 74171, and you can text the word SIGNS. So that's spelled out signs. And I just wanted to spell it out so that no one is thinking of the math SINE. It's SIGNS to 74171. Another practical tool to use with your team and in the workplace and everywhere in general, really, is use mirror listening. This is where you reflect what you hear and you don't rush to fix it. Okay. And it also deals with the mirror neurons. That's what scientists call it, the mirror neurons. And this is where you subtly match a person's tone, body posture, and their language. Okay. And in mirror listening, you reflect what you hear, like I said, but you don't rush to fix it. You help people feel like they're heard. There are so many conflicts because people just aren't listening. And that's why many behaviors persist because people don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. So they keep engaging in this dysfunctional behavior, these dysfunctional practices to be understood, to feel heard. But if you can do some mirror listening, that will help immensely because they will feel heard. Everything doesn't require a quick fix or a solution. To be heard, to be understood is just incredibly powerful. It is a human need to feel connected, to feel understood. And I know that there's probably someone listening right now that says, these are such mansy pansy soft skills. They're not anything that moves the needle. But I want to tell you absolutely 100% that these aren't soft skills. These are smart leadership moves. So we've been talking a lot about how you can be polished and powerful and you can lead with everyday resilience and grace. We've talked about some of those methods. And I want to just remind you, give you these closing thoughts that mental wellness is leadership. Managing your own mental wellness, being cognizant of the mental wellness of your team is important. And you don't have to be a therapist. Everyone does not have to be a therapist, but knowing the resources that are available in your company, in the community, if there are peer coaches within your company, it's important that you're aware of them as a leader and that your team is aware of them. A lot of times I deal with leaders and I'm reminding them with what I do, and some of the responses I'll get are, "Oh, I never need that. I never use that." And and I have to remind them that it's not always about you. You may never need to access the services of of a coach, of a therapist, of a peer support person, but I bet you a dollar against a donut. I will bet that there is someone on your team that is struggling with something at this very moment. And they need you to know what those resources are to remind them. Because when people are struggling, they can't connect to that cognitive part of their brain that has the problem solving because they're completely overwhelmed. They can't perform because they're on overload. So if you can be that gentle reminder of what those resources are in a meeting, having flyers around, having briefs, having sharing videos or little comments to remind people of what the resources are, that is a lifesaver. That can be a game changer in helping people to build resilience and grace. Um, it's not separate. Mental wellness is absolutely not separate from leadership. It is central. It is the center part of leadership. Now, if you want to be powerful, have a powerful presence for others, you've got to practice presence with yourself first. And I want to give you a few tools, I call it a comfort kit, that you can begin to use to build that everyday resilience. And it's simple as just using your senses, those that you were already given at birth. So let's start with visual. Using your visual senses to focus in on things that are soothing to your eye, that are pleasing. Um, for me, everything is about ocean. So seeing the scene of an ocean coming in and coming out. I can time it with my breathing rhythmically, and it's always calming and soothing for me. For others, it might be just focusing on one thing. Like right now, I'm looking at a camera, and you can focus in on every single detail, the shapes, the color, the texture. Think about how it feels to the touch. And just doing that for for a minute or so, and then pan out to get a diffuse view of that thing that you just focused on intently, and look out and get a wide scope and focus on that for a minute and break that up. That can help significantly to bring some calm and focus to you. The next thing we'll go to is our auditory senses, our hearing. And you can have earbuds, you can have wired earpieces, and listen to some calming music, maybe a heartbeat. Um, and it's calm is something different for a variety of different people. Sometimes classical music is soothing to me, and others time it might be some 90s hip hop. It just depends. Whatever is calming and soothing to you and rhythmic, listen to that. Just a couple minutes, 2 minutes. Okay, so the next thing that we want to focus in, so we had visual, we had auditory. Next, we'll go to tactile, things that we can touch and feel. Um, I had a client who would love to keep. Now, this is the beach rock. This is just a crystal, but it's smooth. And having this in your pocket can be magical because it automatically, when you touch it, it has a grounding um, quality because it's cooler than the environment is. So it's cooling to the touch. So just able to touch this, you can focus on its shape, how it feels, its curve, the temperature, the sensation in your hand. So it's really difficult to focus on something distressing when you are focused on this object. In Can be in your pocket. No one even has to know that you're touching it. Or for some people, they like Benoit balls, and you having those, and they make a sound that, and it's so beautiful. I don't have them here right now to show you those. For some people, they may want to have something that's rugged, that's pointy, that has a lot of different textures. That also does the trick. So you may have to find what works for you. Um, the next sense that I want to focus on is the olfactory sense, and that is smell. And smell can be such a powerful sense because with certain smells, it can take you right back to a moment in time that you were in. Okay. For some people, that might be some lavender. It might be an artificial smell like a perfume or just a variety of things that smell good. Maybe it's peppermint. So, whatever can ground you, and you can just put that on a little cotton ball, have it in a little plastic bag, and that scent stays fresh the whole time. So, remember, I told you this is your little comfort kit. You can have it in a bag and have all the little things you need. The last sense that I want to cover to help you to be able to lead with poise, leads with power and resilience is kinesthetic. And that can be as simple as getting up and walking around. Or, and I don't have this here with me, I wish I had prepared, but stretchy bands. Having a stretchy band and just stretching it out, that can excise some of that stress. Just that physical movement can help excise some of the stress in your body. So, having little things around to do that, I like it best if you can actually get up from your environment and walk around and get some movement that way because it also takes you away from the work environment and just gives you a little bit of a mental break. So let me close with this. Remember to lead with poise, lead with power, and always, always lead with grace. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch Leadership Beyond Burnout. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson, and we'll be here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific. And until next time, lead beyond burnout.